Have you ever thought, this has gone on far too long, and it's the principle of the matter. Why should they get away with it? So let's take them to court. To learn more about why to avoid litigation, just watch this short video, and welcome to the Sharper Business channel. Now, there are 6 major reasons to avoid litigation, and the first one is the potential cost. Litigation is always expensive. You should expect your solicitor's hourly rate to range somewhere between £250 and £500 per hour. If you need a barrister, you should expect a similar hourly rate, somewhere between £250 and £500 per hour. Now, if you need to go and visit the barrister in the chambers, you'll inevitably be accompanied by a solicitor, and that's of course when you get 2 bills, one for the barrister's rate and one for the solicitor's rate. If of course your case needs extra thinking, out of hours, perhaps some work at the weekend, it is reasonable that you should expect an uplift of about 150% to that hourly rate. Now, it is fair to say that it is very difficult for your lawyer to estimate precisely what your costs are going to be, because, to a great degree, the duration of this case will depend on the evidence and the arguments put forward by the defence, which can't always be anticipated accurately. For example, Queen's guitarist Brian May and his wife Anita Dobson, they sued their neighbour and won the case, and the judge awarded them £25,000 in damages. But their legal costs were £160,000, which could not be recovered through the courts. They won the case, but yet their costs were £160,000 over and above anything that they won. So it is important that you bear in mind that the legal costs are likely to be substantial. Now, the second reason to avoid litigation is that there will be a loss of goodwill. It's inevitable that once you appoint a lawyer, any goodwill that might have been present tends to evaporate. You see, after the defendant or the other side have received a letter from your solicitor, the defendant will often adopt the position, well, if that's the way you want to play it, so be it. They don't reply to you, they hire a solicitor, and then all communication will then be between the lawyers. Each lawyer writes to the other lawyer as they create massive files wrapped in beautiful purple ribbon. And whilst the two interested parties are discouraged from communicating directly with each other. Now, your lawyer's job is to win the case, which might mean producing evidence which undermines and questions the character and integrity of the defendant. Now, you may feel uncomfortable about this, but this is litigation where goodwill is out the window. You have to give that some serious thought before you start. Things may not go exactly how you would like. The third reason to avoid litigation is the notion that justice will be done. We've done nothing wrong, so surely it's a guarantee that we'll win this case. And I can tell you that there is certainly no such guarantee. Your lawyer might well advise you that you have a 90% chance of success, which sounds good. In fact, it's very good, and you're probably unlikely to get such a recommendation. But when you lose, you'll have been warned about the 10% chance of failure. Your lawyer will protect their position by advising you in writing of the risk. But you'll be tempted to recall the simple logic that your claim is just, valid and honourable, and surely justice will be done. I say, don't kid yourself. Litigation is not always about right and wrong. The outcome is based on the evidence submitted and the balance of probability. So there is a high risk that even though you've done nothing wrong, you could lose the case. So be very careful about convincing yourself of the notion that justice will be done. The fourth reason to avoid litigation is this grand and noble idea of it's the principle of the matter. I'll sue them out of principle. Why should they get away with it? And I say forget it. I say this is not a good basis for commencing litigation or taking somebody to court, because not only might they still get away with it, but in addition to your own costs, you might also have to pay their legal costs, which might be double yours. Every litigation case going through the courts today will result in a loss for one side. And believe it or not, it could be a loss for both sides. And this loss could be a great deal more than you are prepared to risk on principle. The result, which might appear as a victory, could cost you a great deal. For example, Naomi Campbell sued the Daily Mirror and won the case, and the judge awarded her £3,500 in damages. So that was a victory for Naomi Campbell. on principle. And our lawyers claimed £1,086,000 in costs. And this argument went on for 8 years and was subsequently settled for about £500,000. So Naomi Campbell won the case, was awarded damages of £3,500, which cost her about £500,000 in legal costs. So I put it to you, be very careful when you talk about suing somebody out of principle. Are you happy that the principle might cost you substantial sums? Another good reason to be wary of litigation is the legalese talk that takes place. That's often very difficult to comprehend. And to help understand this, we have to take into account that litigation lawyers must possess a practicing certificate issued by the SRA. And to protect the lawyer's position, they have very expensive professional indemnity insurance, PII. Now, to ensure that they don't fall foul of their obligations under this policy, you'll find that they will probably notify you in writing of all events and possible outcomes. It is no surprise that you might feel in need of a lawyer to explain what they're talking about. And if you don't understand the legalese, you must immediately stop the lights and demand an explanation in simple English. Now, depending on the size of the claim, and to keep costs under control, you might do well to have an in-house lawyer to help you deal with this matter. But whatever the outcome, if you don't understand them, you may well have to change lawyers, and tell them that before you do so, of course. Another reason to be wary of litigation is that it should come with a health warning, because litigation can be so stressful. It can affect your business life and your private life, and you're encouraged to involve those closest to you as you're about to either win the race or possibly lose your shirt. You're also encouraged to have the full worst case scenario budget available, so that you don't, in the middle of the litigation, have to dispose of assets to put some cash together. You should try and treat the case as a project and not become emotionally involved. And of course this is difficult, because if you passionately believe and feel your claim is a fair one, then it will prove very difficult for you to be able to stand back. You see, what you have to take into account is the defendant may be a corporation who leave the matter with their litigation department, who go home at 5 o'clock without a care in the world. Or it could be an individual with standards very different from your own, who couldn't care less. And it can make serious demands on your business, your private life, your family life, and your health. It can easily dominate your life to the point where you're watching your favourite sport on television, engaging with your family or friends, or walking the dog, and you'll have this litigation at the back of your mind night and day. Now, is it suggested that you should never litigate and that you should just roll over and let them have it? Of course not, but you're encouraged to be careful and to consider the alternatives, including a compromise, a settlement, or indeed arbitration. In this short video, we've learned of 6 major considerations. And what I'd like to know is, what is your experience? And to learn more about how to grow your business, just keep tuned to this business channel. And in the meantime, give us a like. Let us have your thoughts and comments below. To join our community, just hit the subscribe button to be notified of future videos on this Sharper Business channel. And thank you for viewing.